I'm Janice Hostegger. After 3 decades in the marketing business and many years of being an entrepreneur, I've learned a thing or two about marketing. Join me as we talk about marketing, small business, and life in between. Welcome to My Weekly Marketing. Hey, welcome to My Weekly Marketing. So, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that AI is coming in fast and furious. And whether you know it or not, it is impacting your business. And right now, customers, yours and mine, are turning less often to Google and other search engines and more often to AI. In fact, I just did it today. So since AI is changing search, after we all dutifully made sure our websites were search engine optimized, right? What does that mean for your website and getting traffic to it? Honestly, most small business owners are still trying to keep up with traditional SEO, and now it feels like AI just flipped the script. The good news? Today's guest is here to break it down and give you some steps that you can take so you don't get left behind. I'm talking with Kevin Vaughan, founder of KTV Digital, and he has more than 30 years of marketing experience. When he realized that nearly 80% of buyers are now using AI tools to do their research, and that most businesses don't even show up in those results, he knew something had to change. You're going to love this conversation because Kevin explains this complicated topic and tells us what to do next. And he's going to share a free tool that he's created so you can find out how your website stacks up. So grab your coffee and let's dive in. Okay, well, welcome, Kevin. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Janice. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Okay, so let's jump right in. Let's start in some plain English. What is AI doing now to change how search is done?
So that's a very broad question. There's a lot to unpack there. What we have to consider is over the past 20 plus years, we've been used to dealing with Google or other search engines like Google, where you'll type in a question, you get a wall of links. And the game was to climb as high up on that link order because 80% of the traffic and conversions came from the top 5 links. So that was the game. So AI has kind of leveled that playing field a little bit because, and again, AI is really not new at this point because it was November in 2022 when ChatGPT was first introduced to the public. And, it's just been a rocket ship since then. And when ChatGPT first came out, it was a very constrained data set. So if you remember some of the early searches you were doing there, asking questions, it would only know data up until I think it was April 2021. All of that has opened up, right? So now all of these engines, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, whatever, they all have access to the internet. So they are scraping the same information the way that search engines do. The difference is they're not giving you a list of links and you have to crawl through. It's actually going through and scraping and consolidating, parsing the data and giving you a very a concise answer. And the beauty of it now where it's evolved is that when you get that answer, you're getting either, it depends on the platform you're using, but it could have some internal links, or if you use Perplexity, it has all the source cards up top. So that's changed the journey because people aren't going to Google first. This is the influential thing with AI. People are going to AI first to ask questions, do some research, because they can have a conversation. You can start with a question, then you can ask a follow-up question, and you can whittle it down. You can't do that with a search engine. So traditional search as we know it is still very much vital, still very much in play. It's just not the first touch point anymore. It's further down the line. So where people start looking for products, services, solutions to their problem, they're going to the answer engines first and then working their way down to Google to verify. And we can spend more time on that if you want, but I don't want to just take off on a tangent here.
No, that's a great way of putting it because I think you're absolutely right. It always starts with the customer, right? It's like, what are they doing now that we have to pay attention to? And actually, it's not even called SEO anymore, right? So, well, the SEO is the old way of doing it. What is it called now? It's important.
There are so many different acronyms out there, and it's alphabet soup. All right. You're going to get lost in it. Don't overthink this. First off, you're going to hear a lot of things. If you're trying to keep your finger in the pulse, you're going to hear a lot of SEO is dead. And I think that's the wrong way to look at it, because it's not a polarizing thing. It's not, this is SEO and this is now AEO or GEO. And, those acronyms are for generative engine optimization or answer engine optimization. And wait a week, it'll be the acronym. That's just the way it goes. So really, this new AI approach is really an extension of SEO. So SEO hasn't died. It's just transformed. It's just different now. And again, part of that is because what we think of as traditional SEO or landing on Google is a little further down the experience from, and it's funny because I talk with other, business owners and not necessarily other marketers, but other people that are just, how it is, you get really close to your business, really get close to your product. And sometimes it's hard to zoom out and get that bigger perspective. But that's what we all need to do. We all need to take a step back and just go, hold on, let's see the big picture here. And when I have these conversations with folks and I say, the journey's changed, people are going to AI first. And they're like, well, that's what I do. Well, if you're doing that, why do you think your customers wouldn't be doing that as well? Because that's just the reality of it. People are doing that. But to get back to your question, so it's really kind of an SEO 2.0 now, instead of just SEO's gone away. And you just have these other AI elements in there as well. But one of the critical things to keep in mind is that there's no longer it's not a linear process. It's very scattered because there's so many touch points that could be affected in the buyer's journey through this process. They can engage with you and your brand, through search, what we're talking about today, email marketing, social media marketing, networking events, if you're running TV ads, because believe it or not, there's a whole different conversation to be had about how TV ads are running now, because with all of the smart TVs and things like that, these TV companies know what the watching habits are of a lot of households. And so if you're an advertiser now, you can hone in a local commercial into a 5 zip code area and target the demographic in the households you want to target. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to all this stuff, but it's all integrated and it's all related.
So the potential is enormous in terms of marketing and all of this.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. I mean, marketing right now is already a lot. I mean, that's what keeps me in business, is that people come to me. It's like, I am so overwhelmed. I don't know what to do first, kind of thing. So sticking just with search right now, because I think it's enough. I think it's enough. In fact, I was with talking to a client this morning who is just trying to search optimize certain pages on their site. And so where do we start with all of this? So what's the first step to make sure a website has a chance of showing up in AI results? Does your marketing feel like a giant game of whack-a-mole? Like one day it's Instagram, the next day it's emails, and somehow none of it adds up? Then I made something just for you. It's called the Marketing Clarity Quiz. And in just a few minutes, you'll know exactly where you're stuck with your marketing, where your gaps are, and what to focus on to finally move your business forward. When you take the quiz, you'll get personalized results that will tell you what your next steps need to be. So stop spinning your wheels. You can grab it at janicehossteger.com/quiz. That's janicehossteger.com/quiz. Now back to the show.
Well, when I'm talking to a new client, what I want to do is take a snapshot of where they are. I mean, and there's all kinds of analytics tools that we can use to figure out, where they are. Mm-hmm. Do they exist in a traditional search? Are they showing up on Google and not showing up on AI? I mean, there's some tactical things you can do, but basically it comes down to there's some restructuring that you can do if you have existing data, right? And a vehicle for a lot of us marketers has been blogs for a long time. Let's write some articles. Blogs or articles or features. Blog for some folks is a dirty word, but it's all the same thing. You're just publishing a piece of content about your business or the solution that you solve to get it in front of your customer. But it can be optimized if it's on your primary domain. And that's another conversation. Don't put it in subdomain, put it on your primary domain. So you get all the traffic from that. And then they're already in your ecosystem, to interact with your brand. But if you have a lot of blog content, and probably just need to go through and restructure that and make sure that it's AI friendly. So you want to have, number one, you want to have just good scalable structure to your pages. So you want all of your headings. You want to break it down into a skimmable format. So a lot of lists, a lot of bullet points, things like that people can easily go through and digest, because if people could easily go through and digest that, then that's how the robots are looking at it as well, right? So their AI, the way it puts together data, it does it in chunks. And if you start searching this, you're going to hear like chunkify and all these, different terms, because that's how it's just getting it in small, like word groups, these chunks, and putting that information together rather than looking at like a large body of text. So that's why lists and things like that become very useful for you to be cited and referred through those AI engines, because it's easy to organize and parse that data. And then when somebody asks that question, there's your response. So the other thing is you have to reframe and maybe restructure some of your data or create, new content, where it answers the questions that people would ask. And that includes not always the good stuff. People want to know, when people are searching for a product or service, they want to know, okay, what fixes my problem? How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? What are the potential downsides? And so many companies hide from that stuff. They only want to show the victories. They only want to show the win. But if you really want to showcase yourself as being trustworthy and an authority online, you got to cover all those bases. And I'll give you a quick anecdote. So like a real world scenario. So I run another company as well besides KTV Digital. It's a family business I've been part of for a long time called Tavco. We're a technology reseller. We support and service the architectural, engineering, and construction space. And we have this new product that we brought on from HP. We were one of the early access partners for this. It just takes sheets of construction plans and converts them into a CAD file that they can drop into their software and start working with. Because prior to that, they didn't have software that did this. And they would have to draw by hand. So it would take them 2 to 4 hours to do it. Now we can do it in a couple. But as wonderful as this software is, there's a few things it doesn't do well, right? So it doesn't do like 3D objects very well. So if you have a 3D object drawn on a page, it just doesn't know what to do with it. Also, it doesn't do handwritten notes very well. It can't read handwritten. It's awesome at text, but not good at handwriting. So I would want to be honest with somebody if they were looking at buying the solution and letting them know that this is not a good fit if that is the stuff that you need to get converted. And then so what I did is I actually wrote an article on that. I'm like, HP AI Vectorize, this is what it's not good at, because it's honest. It doesn't do these things well. And if somebody is looking for that online, they're going to land on that. And that's probably going to end up as, you're going to hear this term a lot, 0-click searches. And that's what everybody's freaking out about, because back in the Google days, right? It's you wanted to get those clicks to your website, get people to your website and try to get them to hang around. And now these AI summaries are coming around. A lot of folks are getting answers and then going, okay, I'm cool. And they're moving on.
And walk away.
Frankly, it's not a big deal. It's really not as much to get worked up about, in my opinion, than some people are making it out to be. And one of the interesting pieces of data that I've seen within the past 2 weeks is when you look at dwell time. When you look at people that land on a web page and dwell time, how long do they stay on that page? How long do they look? Well, dwell times across the board have kind of increased 37%. And the thought behind this is because people are doing the research and the vetting on AI and zero click things. So by the time they're landing on a website, because they've gone that far down the funnel to take action, they're much better qualified and they're much more intent driven to convert than somebody who's just landing on your page window shop.
Gotcha.
So it's just reframing the strategy and the mindset of it, being upfront, being honest. If you subscribe to any of the methodology of Marcus Sheridan, which, in the marketing community, people know who he is, but I think he's on point. He goes, say what others won't say, show what other people won't show. And I think just by doing that and doing the mechanics of it correctly, really puts you in a good position to be cited and referenced through the AI engines, as well as supplement and optimize your traditional SEO. Again, it's a spectrum. They all work together.
Right. Yeah, I can see where this kind of what I work with is something called the trail to the sale. So people will start at the awareness stage and it's really based on the customer journey, right? So depending on how they find out about you, and then they go to the next step and the next step and so on. So what you're talking about with AI though is let's say, like your example, you have some information on your site that the AI engine pulls into an answer. First of all, how do you know that your site was used for that? And second of all, how does that benefit your business? Because they're not going to probably click from there unless they ask for a citation. Though sometimes I will do that when I'm working with ChatGPT just to make sure it's valid information. I'll ask for a citation. But unless you do that, you're not necessarily going to know where that information came from, right? Because it's generative.
Well, and I'll use Perplexity as an example. It's giving you a list of sources that it's generating that answer from. So you do get a link. It doesn't serve the same purpose as like a traditional backlink, because a backlink is like, somebody is linking to your content and gives you that authority. And backlinks, all of that stuff is still important. All of that stuff doesn't go away. It's not a shift into this. It's just adding this new perspective of this element of it. But I look at it, again, to use the analogy of zooming out. If you're trying to build brand, you want to be as many places as you can be where people will see you. You want to be in front of eyeballs, right? So having your traditional resources in place and getting that traffic is wonderful. How awesome is it to be there? Plus, if somebody searched on an AI, to also see your brand. Now, we don't have control of the citations. All we can do is to optimize our framework and our content the best way, using the best practices to be found and to be cited on those platforms. But the best you can do is stay in touch with it. I've developed a tool called the Search Score, which you can input some information about your company. It's very minimal. It's the name of your company and a URL. And it'll give you a snapshot of how you're performing on AI. And the way that I built that tool is I'm using API access to ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Perplexity. So I have those 3 channels that it's going out and using the API call to bring that information in to see what those platforms have to say about you.
Okay. So is there benefit to be, I would say that it sounds like there is a if you're a thought leader, if you're truly a thought leader and you have unique information out there and your site has authority, this is going to benefit you. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a very good point, kind of going back to the blog thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think where a lot of folks have gotten excited about this AI stuff, especially on the marketing side, because they're like, great, I can just create and spin up a whole bunch of stuff easily. But there's a law of diminishing returns with that because, again, it's just, you think of it like a vacuum cleaner. It's just going out across the internet and it's grabbing all this information and it's distilling it into an answer and giving it to you when you ask it the question. So if you're like, hey, I sell dog food, right? So write me an article about, the top 10 things to know about dog food. Well, it's going to go out to the internet and it's going to pull all this data and it's going to come back with a really nice article. And you're going to read that and go, that's pretty cool, and a little wordsmithing and it's ready to go. The problem is that kind of falls flat because you're not adding anything new to what is out there. It is recycling old content. And this is where there is just trash and trash and trash that's getting published and promoted online, and it doesn't add anything new. It's just spinning it into a new way to say it. So that's where, if you really want to make an impact with the stuff you put together, and you can use the AI to get you started. There's nothing wrong with that. But what you have to do is you have to sprinkle that with your own expertise and success stories, customer case studies, testimonials. You have to add personalization about you and your brand and your knowledge and your experience has to be included in the article because that is what makes it unique. And that is what is going to give you a leg up on everybody else that's just doing the rinse and repeat routine out there.
Right, right.
And the thing is, it's not that much more work, right? So you just kind of get a starting point, you add your own spin to it, inject it with your personalization that speaks about you and your business, and you got a winner.
Right, right. Yeah. And that's a good thing because I think for so long, people were just sort of putting content out to put content out. And I think in this situation, you're right. If you turn to ChatGPT to write your blog post, you're just rehashing old stuff out there and it's not going to benefit you, even for SEO.
Well, I mean, you go back to that strategy 10 years ago, it was all about keyword stuff. Everything was a keyword. Right? It's like, okay, what's our keyword? And then what's the primary keyword? And what are alternate versions of that? And then okay, I'm going to write an article. It's going to be focused around this keyword. And I'm going to sprinkle in all these alternate ways to say it, make sure it's in the title, make sure it's in the body, make sure it's in the metadata. Again, check boxes, just make sure it's all good to go. That just doesn't work anymore. It has to, it's what's behind the message counts more now. It's more intent driven. It's more on the semantics of the message that you're conveying. Now you still start with a keyword because that's the topic, right? So this is the topic of what we're talking about. Here's my personal experiences with it. Here's, what happened. Here's how one of my customers had great success with it. So anything that you can call out to personalize that to make it absolutely yours and unique, different from everybody else, it is what's going to allow you to be easily cited and referred for a particular search. And long tail, type keywords perform better. So in summary, it's really a quality over quantity equation these days.
Okay. So keywords are not dead.
No, they're not dead. They're still relevant. It's just you're not going to hang your hat on the keyword and call it good.
Right.
You got to add a lot more.
Right.
But it's a starting place for sure.
Yeah. Which you shouldn't now. Anyway, I don't think with SEO, you should never just
Right.
How do you know if AI is picking up your content?
A lot of it is just testing searches yourself. But you have to be careful though, because all of these engines have a bit of personalization to them and they start to kind of learn you and then start giving you answers that you want to see. So like as an example, Perplexity, I think you can do it in ChatGPT too, but I know Perplexity is an incognito mode. So you can go down and you can toggle into incognito mode and it takes away all the personal. It's like doing Google in incognito. So it takes away all the personalization. So that's going to give you just more of a baseline of what the performance is. But if you're constantly putting in information about you and your company and your URL, there's going to be a personal bias to give you that information. So you just have to be careful with that. And then you can use some other tools like our search score tool that we've put together, and that's free to use. Neil Patel has one on his Uber Suggest site. Marcus Sheridan now has one. You're going to see more of these tools come to fruition, some paid, some, premium or something like that. But that's what we got. I mean, it's kind of the Wild West, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
At this point.
Right. Okay. So let me go back to the question I was going to ask. So other than like Q&As, succinct lists, what other kind of content out there, or should we put out there that AI is going to find favorable?
Anything with authority that's showcasing you as being an authoritative voice on that particular topic, doing, deep dives on the topic itself and being very comprehensive. And then again, showing the good, the bad, the ugly. Obviously you want to frame that to be in a positive light or you're selling the wrong product. You need to just be honest and transparent with people. Again, you have to think in terms of what are people looking for? And if they are able to go online beyond just a Google search and type in a question, have a conversation with follow-up questions, they're going to ask, what is the solution? How much does it cost? How long does it take to implement? How complex is it? Can I get help? What is the service after the sale? What are the negative things I need to be concerned about? All of that stuff. And it's going to change for every business and every topic that you want to promote. But you as the business leader know the ins and outs of your product and or service that these are the conversations you're having with people anyway. It's just kind of the old school thought is like, I'm going to keep everything guarded until I get a one-to-one conversation, click for a quote, get the appointment, whatever. And then you're an open book. But that's what's transformed is you almost have to just put that stuff front and center. And by doing that, you're going to be doing something that, over 90% of the companies out there, your competitors are not doing. There's just so many people that won't take that step. It's a leap of faith. I get it. Because I've had to do it myself. I've done it with our other company, and I've done things that have completely broken rank with the industry, but I feel that strongly about it and just want to be honest and transparent moving forward.
Yeah. And even before with SEO, I worked with a company that sold pools. And one of the big questions people asked was, how much does a swimming pool cost? And of course, that's not an easy answer. It depends on your area. It depends on so many different factors. But even just having that blog post out there brought so much traffic to their site. It was crazy. Even though the answer was, well, it depends. But having something like that, because people are always asking this sort of things to AI as well, right?
Well, see, that's an excellent example and an excellent point, because something like a swimming pool, no two are going to be the same. There's a lot of customization and construction, and is there rock they have to dig through? Are there trees that have to be? There's just a lot of factors involved. But again, whoever's interested in buying a pool, that's what they're wondering. How much is this going to cost, right? Yeah. So they're going to land on that you made, and you're probably going to present it as a range. Yes, at the end of the day, if you were to summarize it in a sentence, the end is, it depends.
Right.
But it depends because of this and this and this. So you start listing the factors, and again, you're just being honest with people. And go, it can cost you anywhere from, I don't know what pools cost, say $50,000 to $200,000, depending on, the construction and depending on, I guess, the amenities that you put into the pool.
Mm-hmm.
But you still showcase the range. Typically it depends. Every case is different, but typically we see from this price point to this price point, and you can fall anywhere in the middle. We should have a talk. Here are the things you need to be concerned about. Here are the things that can play a factor in the pricing of your pool, and talk to us. Because what that does is when you publish that and people land on that webpage, all of a sudden you become a voice of trust and authority on that subject. You're showcasing, you know what you're talking about. You're not hiding any facts. You're like, okay, here's all the things that could affect the cost, but we really need to take a deep dive and see how that affects you, for your particular case. And then so that drives the appointment, which is really what the company wants at the end of the day, right? They want the appointment to present a proposal, right?
Yeah.
For building a pool. So no, you're absolutely on point with that.
I've built that know, like, and trust factor too.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
What about content that's not blogs? What about like podcast content or video? Does that get crawled? Maybe crawled isn't the right word anymore.
Again, it's this big web of stuff and it's all connected. So when you're talking about video, are you talking about YouTube primarily or like a Wistia channel? If you do something like a Wistia or another platform like that, you can kind of guard and gate that content. YouTube's got to be wide open for the most part. There's some schools of thought that I've heard that your YouTube channel could actually be more valuable to you in the future than even your website, depending on the traffic that you drive. But video is its own beast, and it just depends on how you want to put it together. And a lot of people freak out about video because they think it needs to be like super produced and polished, and it doesn't necessarily have to be all that, but you don't want to, I get not wanting to showcase your brand just from a selfie video all the time. So, again, that's a spectrum too. There's, different levels of quality that you look for, but video is vitally important, and it's just going to continue to grow and it makes sense. If you break it down into, you can tell somebody something or you can show somebody something. And if you can show somebody something, it's like the old saying, a picture, paints a picture of 1,000 words or something like that. But video just amplifies that infinitely. So video is definitely huge, and you can incorporate that with your other content that you host online. You can embed videos, but I have seen in some search, especially if you're still using Google, which has AI summaries now, or if you're using the Gemini platform, it's delivering YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're optimizing your description and basically following the same practices of what we're talking about and putting together some content that will resonate with people they care about, then the video will do well, and it should be cited and referred on these AI channels.
I feel like anything that Google already has their hands in, they're going to find a way to incorporate into AI for sure. They already own YouTube, so they're going to be able to work with that, I would bet, in the future. One thing I've noticed too is that in Google searches now, I think it's just a regular search. It will pull up like posts from Reddit, which with AI, that makes me a little nervous because there's a lot of opinions on Reddit that aren't necessarily factual. It's the same with social media. If you're scraping data from all of that, I think it's going to benefit businesses, but it also makes me a little nervous. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like, how do you separate the signal from the noise to break that down? And unfortunately, that's just not something we're going to have, you or I have control over. All we can do is use the resources that are available to us to the best of our ability. And I think as long as you just have to put the information out there and be comfortable with your position on it, as far as policing what happens on Reddit or social media, how it responds, you and I have no control over that. All we can do is be good stewards of the information that we're putting out there for ourselves or for our clients to maximize the resources that we have. I did think of one thing, though, that is absolutely God, this is compelling. And I just heard this, I think yesterday, it's brand new, but ChatGPT is announcing that they're integrating Shopify data within their platform, which means that if you're looking for things and you're hosting your products on a Shopify store, then your products will show up in those results and people can purchase right from ChatGPT without having to even go into your website.
Wow.
I don't think it's live. I don't think it's live yet, but it's been announced. And it's like up and coming. Do you keep up with like Gary Vee? Do you watch any of his stuff?
Every so often, I didn't hear that.
Well, I haven't heard that from him, but for the past year, he's been talking about social selling. That's his thing. I think it depends on the business. So, my experience and knowledge, is really tailored to B2B. B2C is kind of a different animal sometimes. And Gary Vee is definitely a B2C guy.
Right.
But he's talking about social selling where companies are going to be able to have like live QVC type events and to do a live feed and just be selling products through social media channels. So I see that being like a part of that. I mean, regardless if you're B2C, B2B, or B2B2C hybrid entity. And I have my sites on Shopify store, so it's wonderful for me. I don't know how that's going to work with some other e-commerce platforms, but the ability to have that positioned and available for sale directly within a AI chat discussion, I think is awesome. I can't wait to see that come to life.
Right. I mean, there's just so many changes going on right now. It's even really hard for me to wrap my head around any of this. Well, not any of it, but most of it. Like, I guess I'm trying to figure this out myself, let alone guide my clients as to what to do next. But I appreciate that you've summarized it really pretty well for us so that, nobody has a crystal ball, right? So we don't know exactly where all this is heading. So I guess buckle up and stay tuned, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like Texas weather. You don't like it, wait 5 minutes, it'll change. So this AI stuff is the same. I mean, the best we can do is keep pace with what's going on. But what I feel really comfortable with is that I've incorporated a lot of these philosophies into my own products, and I've seen them resolve on these online or AI searches. So I'm like, I know it works. I know that this system works. And just one other thing that I don't know if we touched on, but that structured data, all the technical SEO stuff, vitally important. So you need to make sure that your core performance and Search Console is up to par, that that you have a fast site, that you're mobile friendly. Make sure that all your schema markup is there, because that's how the robots see everything from the back end, but not the customer facing part, but the backside of the website. That's how it gets indexed and organized. Now, there's another, and I'm sure you've heard of like a robots file, right? Robots.txt file. So now there's an LLMs.txt file. So LLMs, and it's basically kind of like a robots file, but for large language model. And I know that it's kind of a monster if you want to put it together yourself. I'm actually working on an AI tool that will generate that, but because both of my websites are on Shopify stores, there's a third-party plugin that just does it for me. So, depending on your hosting provider, your CMS, a lot of times there's the third-party apps that can do your SEO optimization. Like, for instance, if a WordPress site, Yoast or what's the other?
Rank Math.
Yeah, MathRight or Right Math or whatever. Yeah. So there's a couple tools like that. And like, I know the Yoast, maybe the math one, but I know Yoast for sure, like if you get the paid version, will produce the LLMs text for it as well. So it's just, you have to be careful for things that auto-generate stuff, and just to make sure that it's doing it correctly, because sometimes they can just spin off and go crazy. But as long as you check and validate that it's generating the right information for you, that will help you a lot with optimization as well.
Okay. Well, we have covered a lot today.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm going to go grab a paper bag and start breathing into it just because there's so much that it's here that we need to just think about. But I guess that's the nature of marketing. It never really stands still at all. And it really never has.
No, and there's a lot of moving parts to it. It seems confusing. It seems daunting. Sometimes if you could break it down into simple terms, I've been on this other career path for years and years and years, but through my 20s, I was in top 40 radio. So, programmed radio stations and was on air and all that. So a lot of my marketing experience, even was seeded back then because it's the same game. We have content that we're creating to reach a particular demographic out there and resonate with them. Whether we're programming music and contests to bring listeners in to generate ad revenue, or we're trying to get people to our website to convert them to do things, it's the same game. It just changes tactics, and you just have to kind of keep up with that.
Well, marketing is really based on human behavior, right? So, it really is all about just what people tend to do. And this is just another tool in the tool belt to think about. So you have speaking of tools, you have a really cool tool that you are offering that you touched on in here. So can you tell us a little bit about that, the search tool that you've created?
It's called Search Score, and it's searchscore.ktvdigital.com to get to it. Free tool to use, and you just plug in your website, your brand name, kind of a key term. If you sell lawnmowers, you just put in lawnmowers or self-writing lawnmowers. And then it'll give you a report, and it'll show you how you show up with these bots. I touched on this earlier, but it's all tied into API access, which API is just a fancy for application program interface. It's just a way for this tool to talk to another tool. Don't get lost in the formalities of it all. It's just a way for this thing to talk to this thing. So I have it connected to Gemini, ChatGPT, and Perplexity. So all three of those platforms tie into this. And then so when you run a search, it's going to look on all three of those platforms on the back end to see how you perform. And it'll give you a list of some things you can do, some links that give you information on how you can fix that yourself. There's also a link to our DIY tools because there's a lot of small business owners that like to get under the hood and tweak it themselves. They just need some help. So we have some tools to do that. The other thing is it gives you a list of some example prompts of what people may use in AI to search where you would show up. Does that make sense? Like sample prompts of what people would type in.
Right.
So what's good about that is if you are looking for ideas of, like what can I create? What can I write and publish that would resonate? That will give you some good ideas.
Perfect. And I'll put the link to that in the show notes.
That'd be awesome.
Well, thank you so much for your time. You've given us a lot to think about, Kevin, and but I certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I really enjoyed it today.
Wow, there's a lot to think about, right? As Kevin shared, it's not something we can ignore. Fortunately, small shifts like the ones we talked about today can make a big difference in how visible you are and how confident you feel moving forward. If this conversation got you thinking, take a good look at your own website and content this week. Ask yourself, am I making it easy for AI and humans to understand who I serve and what I do best? It's not about chasing every trend. It's about building a clear strategic path that connects you with the right customers. For more information about anything we talked about today, visit myweeklymarketing.com/130. If you love today's episode, please make sure to follow the podcast so that you don't miss the next one. Thanks for tuning in today. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.